mum and dad have got the deposit. You go, okay, well, which of the kids has the best income? Who has the best income? Who has the best credit? And, it's interesting what comes out.
All right, so let me tell you about another family, Massey. So this is the family that I spoke to, and the situation is mum and dad in their 60s now, and they've put it off. They just put off buying property, but they're now in a position where they've got super and they can withdraw that super. So they've got a couple $100,000, and their adult children are still living at home, mid-20s, they're still working, and their goal is they want to now buy a property. So their question is, can they use the super if they withdraw super, can they use it as a deposit to be able to buy property? But the concern is around their age. So
talk to me a little bit. They all still live together?
They all still live at home, yeah.
How many, like in the group?
3 kids.
But are they married or they're single?
Single. Dating.
Okay, single.
Dating.
Yeah. So is there an expressed desire from the 30-year-olds, the three?
The kids will,
they want to own property.
Speaking to mum, so mum's keen.
Yeah.
Dad are keen.
But just to clarify, is mum the one who wants them to own property, or do they want to own property?
The parents want to own property.
Yeah.
And the kids are like, yeah, we'll support.
What you've said to me is they're older. The parents are in their 60s.
Yeah.
And look, there is the proviso that you can access, super, but generally you would need to retire.
Yeah.
Generally, you'd
need to retire.
Retire. Oh, well, if they're retiring.
Yeah, they're retiring.
They're
retiring.
Okay, then they get access to the super.
Yeah.
So then if you're retiring, you get access to your super, and then you can use the super however you like. So what that also means, though, is then they don't have income to be able to buy a property.
Yeah.
So again,
that was the concern.
Well, remember, coming back, you only need 3 things to buy a property.
Okay.
Right? So what we're talking about is you're talking about getting access to super. So the 3 things you need to buy a property is good credit, borrowing capacity, and a deposit. So when you talk about super's going to help with the deposit. That's 100%. Right. But you still need good credit and you still need a borrowing capacity. So if mum and dad are retiring, they're at the age where they can access their super, they have deposit, but they have no income. No income means no borrowing capacity. So this is where when you look at a family unit and a family group, you have to look at, well, how do we use the family group? How do we use the strengths of each of the individuals within the family group to accomplish the desires of the family?
Yeah, man.
So the desire of the family is we want to own property.
Yep.
Right? Okay, well, how do we do that? So mum and dad have got the deposit. You go, okay, well, which of the kids has the best income? Who has the best income? Who has the best credit? And, it's interesting what comes out.
Yeah.
So let's assume they've all got great credit and they've all got decent jobs, right? So the goal then would be, well, how do we buy the first property with as few people as possible? And why do we want to do that? To preserve any other
borrowing
people.
Capacity.
Preserve the other borrowing capacity, but also preserve the first homeowner rights to access grants and incentives.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you have a family unit, and this is one of the big mistakes we see, if you've got 5 people that have incomes and you put them all onto one, it burns all of the first homeowner grants on the first property.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got 5 people and you split it and you put 2 on the first, let's say 3 on the first property, and then then you've got 2 left to put on a second property.
Yeah.
Because the goal is to multiple property ownership in amongst a family group.
Yeah, interesting.
Right? So we've ticked the box of deposit. Now we've got to go back and go, okay, we've got 3. I wouldn't call them children, but the adult kids.
Adult kids, yeah.
They're in their 30s.
Yep.
What's their incomes like? Okay, if they've got great incomes, could one person buy their own? Could 2 people buy and leave 1 to the side? What does that actually look like? Do we need all 3? Do you know what I mean? So this is how we kind of get an understanding of how do you partition the family group to accomplish the goals of the family group.
Yeah.
And so the only caution with this is sometimes the parents really want it, but the kids aren't that up for it. That's very hard for it to work.
Yeah.
Right? What you need is the parents to have the desire because they've got the money and the deposit, but you also need, the children to be like, yes, this is something we want to do. The hardest thing is where we can see that the children aren't up for it, and the parents are like, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay. So, but the biggest thing is you've also got the government first homeowner grants, so you're going to need less of that money. So let's say they got 200,000. You wouldn't need 200,000 to buy your first property.
5% deposit.
Yeah, you got so let's say they're buying a property in Sydney. Let's say it's a $950,000 loan for a $1 million property. Well, you need $50,000, right, to buy for the deposit.
Yeah.
But then you'll also pay stamp duty as well. So you might need another 30 or 40 for stamp duty and costs. So now you need 90,000.
Under 100K.
Yeah, so you're getting in for 100. Let's call it 100 clean bits and pieces. They're getting in for $100,000. Mum and dad have still got 100,000 left over.
Yeah.
Right? So people get excited by that. They're like, oh, wow, so we can get the property and we've got some money. Oh, and we can get that holiday. Come on now.
Yeah.
And so this is where it gets really practical, and you can realize, you know what, guys, there's a lot we can do here with the resources that you have at your disposal. And most families don't know that. They don't understand that.
Yeah, 100%. The options.
Well, people underestimate the strength of their current financial position. And what they have the most data around is we can't buy a property because they haven't been able to buy a property for the last 5, 10, 20 years.
It's a new thing.
It's a new thing. So when you start helping people to understand and see, like, there's a way to do this, then they're like, oh, let's go. Let's go. And the first property unlocks the belief for the entire family. Because here's what you've got to understand. The family's tried to work together on financial things before, and it doesn't always work out positively.
Or let's save. Or let's put money for a funeral. Yeah.
So what happens is, by the family accomplishing the home ownership on the first property, everything else all of a sudden becomes achievable. We can do this. We can do this. So that's the way that we would play with that family. They're in a great situation. They can get into the market. We want to use as the smallest amount of the super funds possible. You want to preserve as much of that cash as possible. And you do that through the first home owner grants and incentives.
Yeah, man.
Yep. That's the first thing. But the second thing you also want to do is you also want to use as few people on the purchase as possible.
And what if mum and dad want to put their name on the property? That wouldn't be helpful, right?
Well, it doesn't help from a lending perspective. And you can put like a small amount of ownership on, but you'd have to get a green light from the lender. And the lender would have to agree to that.
Yeah. So I think that's why it's important for the family just to understand the whole vision of what they're trying to achieve, but then the strategy is catered towards the needs of the family. Yeah.
So generally the first step is figuring out of the family group who's actually on board with this.
Yeah.
Not who do you want on board, who would be ideal to be on board, but who's actually on board.
But when you say on board, what does that look like? They're willing to put the borrowing capacity, the paperwork, it's just committing to the process?
So all of the behaviours that need to occur, the person is displaying. Right, so first layer is documentation, right? Second layer will be money. You have to put money in.
Okay.
You might not need to come up with the $90,000, but there's going to be some mony somewhere.
You
pay a mortgage,
credit
pay
checks.
a debt.
Yeah.
You know, there's cost. And so do they turn up to meetings?
Yeah.
So if they don't turn up to meetings, they don't front with any money, and they haven't put their paperwork in, what does that tell you?
Yeah, there's signs that they're not really committed.
Yeah. I saw the signs. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, I was like, Johnny's in there. Johnny's in.
Mum said, they're in.
I
told you you're in.
I told you, and it's like, okay, Mum, I love it. Love you. It's amazing. However, right, what we're seeing is they're probably not in. And look, sometimes people are just a little worried. They don't know their finances.
Yeah.
People hate disclosure around their finances.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want everyone to know what I've been doing with my money. I don't want everyone to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's lots of reasons why that can play out negatively. But if you get through all of that and the team is on board, and what I would say is having a smaller team of fully committed people is way better than having a big team, with no commitment. Because that big team with no commitment means there is no team. They're not on board. You've got one person with hopes and dreams. And those people might as just focus and work on their thoughts and prayers. Because it doesn't work.
100%.
Yeah. So families can grow together through this, and families are going to figure out pretty quickly who's actually on board. And as long as they're willing to then, put the emotion aside and just go, okay, well, let's just work with the 2 or 3 people that we have got, and let's make this a dream. Because people have got different things going on in their lives. They've got different focuses.
Different parts of this.
So after the first part, they'll be, okay, well, we'll help out now.
We're ready now.
Yeah, that's right. 100%.